And we're live.
Hey everyone, we are live. Welcome to National Parks at Night, a blog chat edition here with Lance Kymick. My name is Gabriel Biederman, and we're very happy to have you. I see Therese and Mr. Rat in the room already. How you guys doing? And here's the
hello. Hey Gabe.
This is a unique blog chat. Is this the first blog chat without Matt Hill in the house? I think he
first
is
in a long time anyway.
Yeah, he's vacationing slash scouting somewhere warm. That's all we'll say, because it could be a workshop for 2023. But he's somewhere warm right now, and I don't know about you, Lance. It's pretty drafty, pretty cold here in New York. It was like maybe 40 today.
It did not hit 30 here in Vermont. So
yeah. You're probably always the top for cold out of the crew here.
Maybe Tim too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's we've been spared. I think so far it's been a pretty mild October and November to date. So I'm not going to complain too much. At
nice.
least,
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind being where Matt is either.
Exactly. So tonight's blog chat, Lance wrote this week's blog chat, and it is called it's one of our How I Got the Shots, and it is star trail circles over, again, you might have to correct me on this, Lance, but West Quoddy Head Lighthouse? West Quoddy.
It's Quoddy.
You say Quoddy, I say Quoddy. We call the whole thing off, but there it is. Boom. There it is. So congrats on this. This is a really beautiful shot. And let's actually come in here and can we blow up that picture? Let's take a look at that picture for a minute here. That's a beautiful shot. How happy are you with this shot?
I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. I'm going to be happier with it the next time when I go back and do it again.
Right.
This was, it was a really fun lighthouse to shoot. I'll tell you that. There was almost no light. You can see a little bit of light pollution on the back on the right-hand side, but there was no moonlight whatsoever. And, I had to shoot it at a higher ISO and that I wanted, a little bit noisier than I wanted. So I'm going to go back and do this again with a little bit of moonlight.
Nice.
But
nice.
Right,
you only had one night to do this, right? So
yeah, that's right. Chris and I had finished the PhotoPills Acadia workshop, and he suggested going up there to check it out for just a night, which I thought, hey, that's a great idea. I'd always wanted to see this one, and always curious to check out a new chunk of coastline. So so we went up there.
This is what, the easternmost part of the United States?
Yeah, it is the easternmost part of the mainland of the United States, and it's you can throw a rock to Canada. Campobello Island is right off the coast, and there's a causeway that's like a quarter mile long. So that's part of Canada.
The Bay of Fundy, right? You're right there by the Bay of Fundy, right?
It is the Bay of Fundy, yeah. And
isn't that the one that goes has the craziest tides up and down, and wow, yeah.
Yeah, and we were fortunately very cognizant of that, because we did go down to the coast and wanted to go along the coastline. We had to walk a couple hundred yards away from the lighthouse to get down to the shore, and then back along the the beach to shoot up at the lighthouse from below, but didn't work.
Susan's commenting, right? That border is it's the Canadian, what are they called, the Mounties? One Mountie station there.
Hi there, Suzanne. And actually one part of the the scouting we did the next morning before we took off was, inquiring about going over there to Campobello and what was involved. And so at this point, that you needed proof of vaccination and a COVID test and a passport and all that. So obviously we did not do it, but it's in the plans for future when we go back up there.
Nice. Nice. And listen, I want to share this also. I know all of you know, and I want to welcome a bunch of more people, including Matt Hill. Matt Hill's in the house.
Yeah,
he's given us a clue as to where he is.
Probably everybody's already Googled
it. Matt, you're off, man. You're not supposed to be. I mean, I really appreciate you checking in on us in Blogchat, but definitely enjoy yourself. And we got a lot of warm people besides Suzanne in Boston, but we definitely want to remind you people that yes, we love your questions and comments. So if you have any questions, any specifics about this photograph in particular, please drop them in there, and we will get to them during this blog chat.
I bet Jay Jeffries knows where Matt is.
Right? Exactly. So listen, you were fortunate. This looks like good weather, which is always a trick in Maine. So looks like you had fairly clear, a clear night. But tell us about sort of, I get your experience. You had one night, you guys decided to go here, and tell us about sort of entering the scene and your first take on what you were going to do with this lighthouse.
Well, Chris had been there 20 years ago. I had never been there before. We'd seen photos of it. This is Adam Woodworth's backyard, and he was actually instrumental in getting us in too. So he connected us with the park ranger who gave us permission to go.
Nice.
So we left Mount Desert Island in the middle of the afternoon, and Google said it was going to be like 2 or 2.5 hours, and it ended up taking like 4 hours to get up there. So we arrived after dark, and had basically just parked the car and walked out and had a look around and started shooting. It was I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, but this was an especially fun lighthouse to shoot because of the flashing characteristic of this lighthouse.
Right.
And
right.
So, like I said, I'm not going to jump too far ahead, but I had the idea to do this shot the way that I did it, basically as soon as we got there, because and anyway, let's see.
Yeah, so and you got there in the dark, and it's unfortunately we didn't, it took longer than expected. So right, you kind of you see what you see, and you gravitate. You did a couple actually other shots, I think, before. Let's see. Oh, but I think first, let's talk about lighthouses and what type of lighthouses. As we can kind of see here, Chris did an awesome little GIF time lapse showing the light of this lighthouse. So talk to us about this. This is a unique lighthouse. What kind of light is this that we're talking about?
Well, what you guys are seeing in this image is an animated GIF that is showing exactly the timing of the flash. So you can see it's dark for quite a long time, more than most lighthouses. So it's on for 2 seconds, off for 2 seconds, on for 2 seconds, off for 9 seconds, and we're getting a little ahead right now, but every lighthouse is different, and I love photographing lighthouses. It's one of my favorite subject matters for night photography because each one, whether it's a continuous light, a rotating light, or a flashing light, the way you handle photographing it is different, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite one that you like? Like I like the rotating ones, obviously, because they can add so much drama. I think
Mm,
to you can really get. I think given the right weather conditions, you can get the best sort of beams.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel.
Nauset Light in Eastham on Cape Cod is probably my favorite. I really like photographing that one. It's the one
Okay.
on the Cape Cod potato chip bag.
Yep, yep.
But
There's a
although,
reason.
yeah, right. This one actually might be my new favorite. That's for sure. But so, yeah. As I was saying, the way you photograph and approach each lighthouse is different based on the way that it sits in the landscape and the type
Mhm.
of light that it has, and your approach too. You may you may just decide to let the light blow out and get overexposed. Generally, I try to control it and have the light illuminated, but not have it look either blown out or fake.
Right.
And that,
So we can see with that
it's
last shot, that 9-second shot, that Chris has here, how blown out it is, right? So it's really hard to. I think always with the challenge with lighthouses is you want to see the light, but you don't want it like right there on that shot, and that was just obviously a fun test shot, but it's you can't see. It's blowing out the glass so much, right? It's blowing out the light of the
right.
lighthouse,
But look,
right?
look what it does to the landscape, though.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's beautiful on that
Right.
landscape, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So the challenge is if the top of the lighthouse is so blown out, um, it makes it really difficult. You've got to be, Tim Cooper level Photoshop master to really clone in a better light without having
Yep.
it look fake.
Right.
Um, so let's talk about a couple other lighthouses for a second, and then and different ways to go about it. Like Marshall Point in also in Maine.
Hmm.
Um, where is that? This St. George, I guess, or Port Clyde. Um, it's a continuous light that is really, really bright. And you and I have shot there. Even saw the
Yep.
aurora there a couple of
Yeah.
years ago
Yeah.
For Maine Media. But so you remember the approach for that one. The only way to get that one, because the beam is on continuously, the only way to get that one without blowing out the top is to get down underneath of it and shoot up from such an angle that you don't see the glass in your frame.
Right. You're not getting the direct hit of the beam,
Right.
right? You're getting, yeah,
But
exactly.
but that one does get the beams thrown out into space really nicely, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though
Mm-hmm.
it's
That
a
does.
continuous one, it shines out in all directions, and the metal bars that separate the glass on the lighthouse are what create the shadows and individual rays of light shooting out. So that's a really fun one. I think that's Chris's favorite lighthouse.
Mm.
Um, and then the Fire Island. Why don't you talk about Fire Island, because you did such a great shot of that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. So Fire Island as well as Cape Hatteras light, both of those are rotating beams. And like I said, those are my favorite style. I just love the movement, and I think it's a challenge for all photographers is to capture that movement. And how do we do that? And typically, with rotating ones, usually there's a beam on either side, right? It's 180
Mm.
one beam on one side and one beam 180 degrees away, and they're rotating around. And there's two ways that you can do it, that you can capture that to create the multi beam effect. And that is you set up your intervalometer to take a picture, and you kind of, for this one, you can be creative. You can really see, it really depends how fast the beam is moving. So do you set your intervalometer to take a 2-second beam, which might be, let's say, this wide, or a 4-second beam might be this wide, or a half a second beam might be, and that's really dealer's choice. What is your interpretation? So that's kind of cool because you can control the width of the beam. That's the only one I know with the rotating is you can actually have an artistic choice to control the width of the beam with the rotating style of lighthouses. And then you kind of, you fire your intervalometer, your trigger to do that. And you mark the point where you start, and then just make sure it does a full circle. And that's an easy thing to put together in Photoshop, similar to stacking stars. But yeah, Fire Island.
That's just a
Yeah.
You just have that the intervalometer running continuously until you make a full loop, right?
Yes, exactly. So which usually is not that long. Usually that's like 2 or 3 seconds. So I usually just hold it and then release it, hold it, and then time it again. Look at that, and then once I've kind of figured out my width of them that I really like, then I might just kind of let it rip for a few minutes and walk around, look for maybe the next composition or something like that. But yeah, I love the rotating ones. Cape Hatteras, which is one of my favorites. Fire Island, which has left an indelible impression upon my heart there, and one of my closest ones.
And NASA too, that we were just talking about. That's also a red and white rotator.
Ooh, so we got rotating ones, we've got flashing ones, and we've got still ones. Is there another type, or is that all 3 of them?
I think that's
the 3.
Oh, yeah, there's one
non-lit ones.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. The non-commissioned ones. There's another one on Cape Cod Stage Harbor down in Chatham that actually has the top has been removed and it's just flat and closed off. So that one was real easy to photograph.
Yeah,
but
have we done a blog post about the rotating one? I believe Suzanne. Yes, we did. I did do also a how I got the shot. So if you Google, if you Google National Parks Tonight, how I got the shot, and Fire Island, that should come up, and definitely goes into the whole process of photographing it and processing. Now, there was when I know we were kind of discovering this technique together at Fire Island, and you were, I think you were saying, you can use the intervalometer technique. That's obviously the easiest. Most of us have it, but you can also use a black card, but not all of us have a black card. We can use a hat. Most of us have a hat, but you could kind of do that.
Hats like you.
Well, chances are Gabe will have at least a black hat and a white hat with him at most times. But that's that's the other technique. I think the intervalometer is a little bit more, obviously it can be more precise because it's every 2 seconds you're going to get it. So the risk you take with using a hat, your hand, a glove, a board in front of it is, are all your beams going to be the same? So you just got to get into a rhythm of going up and down with that to do that. And it's actually, not that difficult, but you do run that risk. So while we are talking
allow me to demonstrate.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So and I did a couple of pretty successful shots of Nauset this past year. And let's see what else have I done that way. Drawing a blank right now, but so the first way, where Gabe was mentioning with running in an intervalometer, you're doing short exposures at high ISO and a relatively short exposure time of somewhere between like a 30th of a second, maybe up to a half of a second. And as Gabe was saying, that'll determine the width of the beams, and how quickly it's spinning around gives you determines how many shots you'll get off in a rotation. But what I decided to do, because that, and there's a reason to, that way you then take those images and you stack them in Photoshop and use the light and blending mode, just like when you're doing star trails. If you know me, I don't like using Photoshop. I want to do it all in the camera. So I thought, well, what if how could I do this in just one frame? Mr. Black Card right here. So during a long exposure, open the shutter, and then consistently you just go, at an even speed up and down in front of the lens, just like this. And it's pretty easy to be consistent that way. So that's a good technique.
How big is that
Um,
card you got there? That seems like a nice like 5 by. Is that an 8 by 10 or is that a 5 by 7 card? Or
it is about it's about a 5 by 6 card. It's a piece of black foam core. It's a little
right.
dented and beat up because it's been in my camera bag for years. But matte
The,
board, cardboard, it should be black ideally, and it should be less reflective than this is. But
right. I think our friend Tim also has a black card. I think he just gaff tapes again like a matte board, so it doesn't matter. But gaff tape is is not reflective at all. So that's a great way. And folks, this is most of us always have a laptop compartment or some place to put this in our bag. This should just remain in your bag because not only can you do this when you encounter a lighthouse, but this is also a great tool for crafting, light painting, and being an extra shade. There's so many uses.
Blocking flare.
It's a flag, blocking flare, flag, controlling your light painting, all that kind of fun stuff. So yes, the new accessory that'll cost you all of probably you can do it under all with the gaff tape under $10. Let's make sure we put that in our gift guide. That's generous. That's a new rule of gaff tape. So okay. I just posted the link to my one, and just if you don't mind, let's just see that shot because we can see the difference.
Yeah, pop it up there
between there. So boom. So there is that one. So we can kind of see the difference between and what you can get with a rotating beam shot there. Also enhanced. Any lighthouse will be enhanced in bad weather. Right. Let's just also notice that some beams, there's usually particles in the air, some sort of particle mist in the air because where a lighthouse is located, Lance?
Along the coast.
So there's usually some, particles
moisture
being shuffled.
in the air.
There's moisture in the air. So chances are you'll have some good beams. But I've shown up to actually, I think Owlhead Lighthouse in Maine. It was like a very lackluster beam. It was a really clear night, and I'm like, oh man, it's so hard to. I was almost tempted to throw some sand up in the air to catch, to kick up some dirt to create some beams. But
there's only like one place you can shoot that one from, too, right?
Exactly. Got to shoot it up the stairway.
Not a workshop location.
But we were fortunate. This was a quick funny story. We did a Fire Island workshop. And actually a conference that we went to Fire Island for 2 nights, and we had like 40 or 50 people signed up both nights to come and shoot it. There's opportunity to shoot the Milky Way with this, but the first night was going to be rainy and misty, and everyone from night one on the bad weather forecast was like, can we switch to night 2? And we're like, no. Do you not understand? You actually have the best night. Yes, you won't see the Milky Way, but you will get epic, lighthouse beams for this one, and they did. So yeah. So yes, so it's different lighthouses, different effects, all good, and chances are I feel bad for those of you. Well, actually, to be honest, even people in the Midwest area, you got lakes, there's always a chance. Just get yourself near some water.
Well, Chris has had it in the back of his mind or the middle of his mind for a long time to do lighthouses of the Great Lakes.
Yes. So we're talking about a few. Why don't we get the chatter going a little bit by posting this question? And Lance, I'll ask you. You've kind of hinted at it. But what's your favorite lighthouse? And folks, let's answer this in the chat as well. What is your favorite lighthouse? In there, and let's see what comes up with that. All right. While we're waiting on that, let's continue with our story.
All right.
And let's go back to the scene.
Because now we can talk about the flashing or the pulsing lighthouse and how to approach that. Well, this one also I made good use of my black card for it as well.
Yes.
And so another one that I photographed a lot, and one of my favorites is Pemaquid Pemaquid Point in
Yep.
also in Maine, and that one has a 6-second delay. So typically, you can cover the lens when the light is on, uncover it when the light is off, cover it when the light is on, uncover, and so forth until you have built up enough exposure to get a shot. And with one like Pemaquid at 6 seconds, if you've got some moonlight, you can shoot at 800 or so, and maybe a couple of cycles, you just cover the card 2 or 3 times in a 20-second, 25, 30-second exposure. But this one, West Quoddy Head, with that 9-second delay, it was an unusually long period of darkness. So, uncover for 9 seconds, cover it back up again. And
so you're setting up a timer? Because right, so you're like, okay, first of all, okay, how long was your exposure for each shot? Where did you kind of figure out?
Kind of my starlight long exposure, I typically do 10 minutes, 800 at usually like f3.2.
Okay.
And that's basically, it's about a stop and a half more than the Milky Way exposure of 20 seconds, 2.8, 6400. And we use that as our kind of like bare minimum exposure for starlight, right? But if you could get more exposure on your frame, you would, right? So
yep.
that's where I came up with this 10 minutes, 800, 3.2, and that's what I use for star trail stacking. I did
Can I ask you 10 minutes? You were using the Nikon D780. How was it cool that night? It looks cool. Was it? Wasn't?
Yeah,
you wouldn't want to do it 10 minutes on 80 when it's 80 degrees out.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I'd say it was somewhere between 55 and 60. It could have been a little bit cooler, and there was a little bit of hot pixel noise in the deep shadows of this. More than I expected, actually. So, yeah. So 10 minutes, and that's just one frame, right? This is a stack of star circle shots. So, yeah. So what that meant was that I was standing there, and this is 5 10-minute shots. I was standing there, covering, uncovering, covering, uncovering, on this weird flashing cycle of 2229 for actually 60 minutes.
For an hour, right? Right.
Yeah. on the very last frame, as I'm coming down with this card, I whacked the lens and bumped it, and that threw it out of alignment.
See, that's it. You got to be careful. So, how close? I mean, in your experience with using the black card, you don't have to put it right over it, but you just have to have it just covering the direct hit, right? So you could be a couple inches away, right? It's not like you don't have to push it right up against the lens.
Yeah, and this is a starlight situation, right? So there's very little ambient light around there. I got pretty close. Mostly this card is probably an inch or so in front of the lens, but it definitely takes some practice. Practice to get the rhythm right. Especially in a funky one like this, because normally it's like on, off, on, off, on, off. And they're, without the weird variation in timing. Yeah. Like that Pemaquid we were talking about before is like 6 seconds off, 1 second on, 6 seconds off, 1 second on. So this one, it's 2 on, 2 off, 2 on, 9 off. So I was actually leaving it cover. Well, was I? I'm trying to remember if I left it covered during the 222 section. I think I did. So
can I ask you a personal question?
Yes.
Did you get the equivalent of tennis elbow doing this? Whatever, black card. Did you get black card elbow? Because you're doing this for an hour. You
Yeah.
know, it's like
Just
during that 9 seconds, or you're like, shake it off, shake it off, shake it off.
Well, it's funny. There's a very funny story that goes along with this, and it almost made it into the blog post, but it didn't. So
Ooh, extra bonus material.
yeah, yeah. So if Chris is actually listening, I don't know if he's going to want to hear this or not, but I'm going to tell the story anyway. So so you know, after I do a couple of practice times to get comfortable, because if you
Mhm,
just uncover at the wrong moment, your frame gets blown out,
mhm.
which means it's probably salvageable because you could go in and mask it out and all that. But I didn't want to do that. My goal was to do only stacking with no masking on the light over an
I,
hour.
I think that what is everyone's goal, right? If
Yeah,
they
right.
can do it, right? It's like less time,
So
more time having fun, less time in post.
yeah. So what I when I set up my cover uncover rhythm, the my plan was to keep it covered all the time that the light was on, knowing that over the course of, a bunch of 10-minute exposures, there was going to be at some point there was going to be an oops where a little bit of light got in.
Okay.
And that's what happened on um, at 5 out of the 6 frames. Only 5 of them were used, but 5 out of the 6 frames there was a little bit of light. This was the one that I liked the best. There were some that were a little more, some that were a little bit less, but that was the one that I liked the best. Anyway, so back to the little diversion story here.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here covering, uncovering, and counting in my head, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, and I was actually going to 8 1,000, even though it's a 9 1,000 thing, and my internal intervalometer is a little bit off because that 8 1,000 was what it took for me to get it just right. So anyway, I'm standing there doing this for an hour, and Chris comes over. So, what are you doing, Lance? Looks like a lot of work there. And what what I was doing during the 9 seconds of uncovered was flapping the card while I'm counting, like 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000, boom,
Nice.
Um, and Chris is watching me do this, flapping the card. I'm just like trying not to be bored and trying to keep myself busy, trying to not to get lighthouse elbow and all that.
Like that.
And
See, there it is.
Chris comes up and says, "Boy, that's a brilliant way to keep condensation off of your lens by flapping the card in front of the lens, next to the camera." It's like, no, I'm just keeping count. And he's talking to me and I'm trying to count at the same time, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, and trying to answer him. And yeah. So we actually got into a heated discussion afterwards because I swore up and down that I was just flapping the card, and he swore up and down that I told him that I was trying to keep condensation off the lens. I still don't think I was doing that, but the thing was, he's like, "Oh, I didn't really think about condensation. I should go back and check my lens." So he turned around and took off. I was like, "Good, now I can go back to counting," and found that he did indeed have condensation on his lens. So
So he started flapping too.
Right. Inadvertently or not, it was working. So anyway, so
Well, we've
yes.
yeah, that's awesome. I want to take a few moments because we've got a couple favorite lighthouses here. Sandra, Nauset Lighthouse, right? Probably with you, I would assume. We've
Probably.
got Peoria Video, Ludington, Michigan. Nice.
That's
That's
got to be
good.
Great Lakes Light.
Yep. Right on. Highland Light, Truro. I don't know where that is. Do
That's
you
a
know that
beauty.
one?
Oh
Is
yeah,
that,
yeah.
where's that?
It's a flasher on the Cape.
Nice.
In Truro is just south of Provincetown, or
Okay. Yep. Well,
east or
that's
whatever that weird direction is on the Cape. It seems like it should
that
be south, but I think it's actually east or west or
Lighthouse
something.
Central. And then Suzanne, the little lighthouse.
All right.
All right. And that's Guam. Oh, cool, cool. Eunice, Point Furman and Point Vincent. All right. We've got some West Coast lighthouses making it in. Nice. 30 minutes. That's closer than Joshua Tree, Eunice. Sydney, Nubble Lighthouse. Nice. That's
and Nubble is the one that's on it's a great,
it's on its own island, right?
If I ever shoot Christmas lights, it's going to be Nubble. I'm not a Christmas light shooter, but, that is such a gorgeous shot at night. It should be on our calendar one year.
Yes. That's a good one for sure. I know. Oh, Teresa, Hecata Head Light. Yeah, Oregon. Let's not forget the West Coast. Right on. Let's get there. Oh, we got the West Coasters coming in.
Hey there, Hadley.
Right on. It's a rotating with a Fresnel lens. Nice. All right. And Jay, Cape Natick, Maine, and American Shoal, Florida. Sweet.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, Sandra doesn't have too many in Phoenix.
Right. Nice. All right.
Cool.
All right. So where were we? Let's see. We're talking about. Oh, let's talk about how you got to that composition. Right. So let's go. Let's see. Back over here. So we're kind of talking about the scene and how lighthouses are close to the water. You are really out there. Wow.
It is. It's not called a head for nothing.
All right. So here's the. So this was one of the first shots you took.
Yeah. This was like the very first like obvious thing. Oh, look, there's the Milky Way. Let's set up a shot.
Right.
Right. But it was late season Milky Way. It was kind of the very obvious shot. This was, I think, I don't remember. Does this have the metadata on that below the image? I think this might.
It does. Yep. There we go.
No, it's 15.
Yeah. 8 seconds, 2 So we're not seeing any beams here.
That is correct. Yeah, it was not enough to catch them there. But yeah, this was just a test shot, and I pretty quickly dismissed it and said, okay, forget about it. I don't want to do this.
Wow.
That's a pretty good
test shot.
Thanks. I think Adam has probably shot this every time he's been out there too. So let him have that shot.
Nice. All right. So we got this shot.
Milky Way.
You backed off a little bit.
Yeah, I just walked around, looking for something different, something unique. A lot of times, especially if it's Maine coast, which I tend to go every year, every other year, go back to familiar locations and shoot them over and over again. And, I always try to get something different, something that I haven't shot before. But this was my first time there. And I really felt, because of that long 9-second dark time, that it was an opportunity to do a star trail shot of a lighthouse and and still not have a blown out light. So this became the kind of the obvious thing when I could look due north and get this shot.
Yeah, everything lines up really nicely on this one. You got your due more north right in the middle sort of the building and the lighthouse. This is just a really nice, easy to digest, composition. You've got everything lined up there. So this shot right here is the single sort of the test shot or one of the frames of that 10-minute shot, correct?
Right. Yeah. And I kept the camera level rather than tilt up to get a bigger star circle, with the intention of just cropping off the extra space at the bottom, which is what I ended up doing.
I really like you handled that. I mean, you could see this is one of the only few shots I've ever seen where you can really see the Fresnel, the lens right in there too. Really wonderful
Yeah.
detail on that. So you caught a little bit. So when you're doing the technique, the hand technique, you're letting just a little, sometimes just a little bit of light, obviously catch it.
I was trying not to let any, but expecting that there was going to be a little bit of an oops, and that's what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah,
So I think it was pretty good though over the course of 10 minutes to only get one partial flash in there. So I was pretty happy with that.
nice.
But like I said, I really want to go back and shoot this with moonlight, where we can have a little bit more light on the landscape, and yeah,
Hmm.
it's going to be pretty spectacular.
So
So
let's talk about the processing, right?
super straightforward.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, just as usual, make adjustments in Lightroom, synchronize them. Do not apply the lens correction because that often creates a moire pattern with star trail stacking.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
do your basic adjustments and select them all, open as layers in Photoshop, and set the blending mode to lighten. And then any masking that needs to be done at the end. I left in the couple of airplane trails in this one, but could take those out. Um, I did. There's a marker, a granite marker at the base of the lighthouse that is connoting the easternmost point in the U.S. And I didn't really want that in there, so I did clone that out.
Okay.
And this frame that we're looking at here is actually one that didn't get used in the stack. Oh, this might have been the sixth one. It was. You can see that little light just at the water line there. That's I put a Luxley on a stand and put some light on the side of the lighthouse.
Okay.
So I didn't really like it, but I just wanted to throw that in there at the end to see what it would look like, and ended up being the frame that got bumped anyway. So just didn't use it.
Wait, you could do light painting while you're doing all this. You can't do any light painting. You have to set it up prior,
Well,
right? Because you have
yeah,
no time. Right,
yeah, it's not well, low level landscape lighting, I guess you call it, not light.
you could set it up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You could set up
Yeah,
something, obviously, yeah, like that. Yeah,
but
but
you can. That's the thing about the Luxley. You can just set it up in advance and then turn it on with the app. Pretty
that's
cool.
true. Yep. All right, and then here's the final shot. Let's take a look at it again. So here's with the crop. And you know what? I gotta say, so I was one of the first things I looked at when you wrote this. You're saying, okay, you are covering the lens for 2 seconds, off for 2, on for 2, and then on for 9 seconds. I don't notice any abnormal breaking in the stars, which that's awesome.
Yeah.
Obviously we're
Well,
facing north, so we're moving. Things are moving a little slower
right.
there,
I
but
probably wouldn't work if we were shooting in the opposite direction. If we're shooting south, we probably have gaps.
mhm.
But so using a wide lens like the 18 has a longer minimum exposure length before you get gaps, right? Or
Mhm.
before you get star trails. So this is kind of like the reverse of the 400 rule or the NPF rule, right? Because rather than using a short exposure to keep your stars as points, we're using, what is the shortest exposure you can use without having a gap in between the coverings and
Right.
the coverings.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And I
Yes.
found I had no problem. I didn't think there were going to be gaps, but I thought that there might be a variation in the intensity of the trails. Like
Okay.
not
Yeah.
like a brighter, dimmer, but
Right.
no.
Wow.
So it just worked out.
Nice. Yeah, it did. It certainly did. This is definitely an image worthy of hanging. I love and also the indoor lights. Talk to us about. Did you said you did really minimal in post? So these indoor lights, you didn't have to do any sort of knock them down a little bit, blend them, take them
Yeah.
out, anything like that.
Well, The one on the side of the lighthouse was actually in the peak of the gable end of the house there. The light on the second floor was on um, during the first shot, and it was shut off pretty quickly.
Okay.
The red light downstairs was an exit sign, and the blue light on the left side of that lower level was a computer display that was, in sleep and had a screensaver on it.
Right, right,
And they
right.
were both very, very, very dim, and I could barely perceive that light when I was standing there looking at it. I kind of knew it was there, but you know, it was much dimmer to my eyes than what the camera picked up. But I did not have to do any local adjustments on that. That's just how it came out.
So Suzanne's asking a question or maybe a comment. She's been warned. Porcupines. Did you see any
Oh,
porcupines there?
yeah. As a matter of fact,
Do you have a quill? Do you have a quill to show us?
I do not have a quill. However, that's I don't know if it's actually worth doing this, but we did have. Oh, here it is. We did have a porcupine encounter, and Chris was talking to Maggie while observing this little guy.
Oh, that's pretty close. That's pretty
Yeah.
close.
So
Nice.
I hear him talking to Maggie, and I was like, "Oh, we got to send her a picture of it, right?" So I go up with my phone, and I'm getting ready to take a picture of it, and Maggie's like, "Oh, I want to see it," and Chris is saying, it's really it bothers them to put a light on them, so we probably shouldn't do that. Meanwhile, I'm in the middle of setting up with a flashlight to take a picture of the thing. But I tell you, this porcupine was not bothered at all.
Yeah.
Those things, they're so badass. They know that nobody's going to mess with them. So they just like, yeah, I'm here. What are you going to do about it? I'm
They're
eating my
descendants of
grass.
dinosaurs, of course,
Yeah, they're cool. So we only saw the one, but it was definitely hanging out in the yard there. But they're, they if you don't mess with them, they don't mess with you.
Okay. Yep. All right. That's good. Good tip. That porcupines and skunks, don't mess with them. And a whole litany of other animals we can go into, but those are the ones that'll get you right away. So and again, just is this a gated lighthouse? I know you got the access from by reaching out to the ranger to get it. Is this a gated one? Right, the only way you can really get the access
It
at night.
it it's not a locked gate, but there is a resident in the keeper's house, or
Okay.
actually
Yep.
multiple residents. So you would have to be extremely stealthy to sneak in there. But
Yes.
again, the ranger was pretty agreeable. He just gave us specific instructions where to park, and said
Mhm.
don't leave trash
Yeah.
laying around and have fun.
Very good point. That's why I wanted to hit up on it. There's a lot of there are a lot more lighthouses becoming automated. There are a lot of lighthouses turning into Airbnbs. So you yourself can stay at a lighthouse, and how cool would that be? It's like, come do a workshop with us or stay at a lighthouse. Those are your two ways. But a lot of lighthouses have people that are living there, so you want to definitely reach out. And usually there is either a lighthouse foundation, or it's run by a state park, or some organization that you can reach out for pretty easily, and just make sure you have the permission to get there, and they can just let people know, hey, there's going to be either a couple photographers or group of people kind of being around. It's just always best, because it is, obviously a little bit of trespassing, right? It's, a lot of time these places are often, a pay for location during the day, but they do close them at night. But boy, do lighthouses, and we've seen the comments kind of come here. Oh, I've only been there during the day. I've only been there. Lighthouses come alive at night. Lighthouses are very nice, beautiful, and ornamental during the day, but at night, that's when you see the soul of the lighthouse. So
It's
thank
doing
you
its
so
job.
much, Lance, for like showing us a wonderful lighthouse, the easternmost in the continental United States. A wonderful interpretation. Doing star trails with lighthouses is definitely challenging. I think most people definitely default to doing the beams and star points and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't see a ton of star trails. So thank you for giving us the tips on how to do that. And folks, start exercising now. Start working out your lighthouse elbow. We'll do this start doing this during the winter. If Chris sees you, they'll just think that you're keeping your condensation low.
Whew, it's getting hot in here.
Yeah, exactly. And right,
So,
Susan. Yes, Suzanne also has another good tip here. We discussed so many of the lighthouses are on rocky shores, coastlines, etc. So yes, wear the proper footwear. Don't wear flip-flops. Don't wear sandals. Wear shoes with support and take it easy. Be careful, especially if you're going there on a moonless night.
Yeah. And both Chris and I guess all of us, but Chris and I in particular are huge lighthouse fans. Next year in our workshop lineup, we've got Outer Banks, Lighthouses of Outer Banks, and what else? Acadia.
Acadia.
Right? So that's Chris and Matt, I think.
And then we also have Monhegan Island, which has a small, modest but beautiful lighthouse.
That's a gorgeous one.
A gorgeous one, and that's for 2023. As noted, all of those workshops are sold out. But again, folks, I can't tell you, get on the wait list. We've been having people contact us over the last few months that obviously things happen and we go through the wait list. So make sure your name is if exploring lighthouses with us is something you're interested in doing, definitely get on the wait list on one of those workshops. And hopefully we'll see you there, because when there is a lighthouse on a workshop, we'll definitely go into, really get the hands-on on, how to scout it, how to shoot it, and then each one, how to process it, accordingly. So we definitely walk you through that process for all those. But I know you guys did that like 2-week Maine workshop, and did you encounter all 3 types of lighthouses on that trip?
Let's see. We had continuous at Marshall Point. We had flashing at Pemaquid, and we did Monhegan. And I'm trying to remember if that's a rotator or a flasher. I can't quite remember right now.
I think Monhegan is just a flasher. I don't think
Yeah, I
it's
think so
rotator.
too. Yeah.
Oh, Jay is reminding me we have another workshop too. Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
Duh. There it is,
he's on
Sandy
that
Hook.
one.
I'm doing that workshop. How did I forget that? It's a beautiful, beautiful
And
lighthouse.
so is Jay. So thanks for the reminder there.
Yeah, exactly.
And hey, well, if Hadley's still here, Hadley, have you ever shot Pigeon Point? Because that's one that I always wanted to do, but never managed to pull it off. That'd be a good one too, down in Half Moon Bay area on the San Mateo coast.
Yeah, I've I've seen that during the day, but don't they have like a festival or something like that for that at night, or where they do a special it's only on. I think they only turn it on certain times of the year, and so a flock of photographers come for that. Yeah.
He has
right. We'll have to coordinate.
Yeah.
Well, so many lighthouses, so little time.
I know we will have more dedicated lighthouse workshops in the future. We've covered most of the Cape Cod ones, but we're going to do a dedicated Lighthouses of Cape Cod workshop. And we'll definitely be doing the Lighthouses of the Bay of Fundy. So
Outer Banks, right? Are we doing Outer Banks or no? We're not doing that.
That's on the schedule for next year.
That's on the schedule for next year.
For June.
Okay. So what workshop aren't we doing that doesn't have a lighthouse? Or maybe we'll bring a portable one
Yosemite.
wherever we go. I mean, Yosemite could use one, especially at Mono Lake, right?
Oh,
Awesome.
that's right. And Jay's doing a good reminder here. The Monhegan workshop. There is a 2-night add-on to that with the coastal ones of Marshall Point and Pemaquid.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
you're right. What are we doing that doesn't involve a lighthouse?
I mean, seriously,
Teddy
right?
Roosevelt in Yosemite.
We might have to talk to them or bring our own, like I said. So awesome.
Are there any in Lofoten?
There are, but you know, the ones there are you would need like a big lens, like a 150 to 600 lens. Those are those ones that are kind of way out there, and the ones that just get all the crashing waves, and they're just like, you're like, how does this survive a day, let alone 80 years that so many of them have been out there? But there are a couple, like where we stay, there's kind of just like, because you're entering a little bay, so there's like these little ones that are kind of showing you how, so pointing to the direction for the ships to get into the breaker, you know. So
yeah, I think Suzanne and I probably shot a couple of them in Iceland on the Snuffleupagus Peninsula. Snafflesness.
Exactly.
I think Suzanne came up with the term Snuffleupagus Peninsula when we were on that trip.
Oh, it's, but then you never see it, right?
Indeed.
Awesome. Well, folks, I hope that this has inspired you to look for lighthouses wherever you are, and or whatever trip you go on. You know, the chances are that there probably is a lighthouse somewhere. You know, I think even Eunice said she went to one in Namibia. So, you know, they're all over. And so, you know, take a look at it, shoot during the day, but, you know, see if you can also get access to it at night. And really, again, like I said, try to then photograph that true soul. And if you're lucky, maybe some clouds will roll in. So thanks so much, Lance, for joining. It was good seeing you. It's been a while, buddy. I'm glad we got a little blog chat time. And so good to see you. I hope things stay a little warmer inside and your harvest prove fruitful this year, as we now take in a wonderful little Thanksgiving. Folks, have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday as well. Hope you're having some good family and friends time, and get through these holidays, and looking forward to seeing you all very soon.
Yep.
And
Thanks, Gabe.
don't forget,
thanks, everybody.
Also, if you're on the YouTubers, if you haven't already, make sure you are subscribing to our blog chat and to all of our videos here on YouTube. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Good night. Thanks.